Thank you, Daniel. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, political leader of the People's National Movement and Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who is on his way. Chairman of the People's National Movement, my cabinet colleague, Mr. Franklin Can, other members of the head table, other cabinet ministers, your worship, the Mayor of Port of Spain, check in on you. Your worship, Mr. Junior Regrello, the Mayor of San Fernando. Other local government representatives, members of council of the San Fernando City Council, distinguished guests, members of the leadership of the People's National Movement, deputy political leaders, party members, supporters, the media. I have been asked tonight to speak at this meeting to give you the perspective from the ministry. Is this the Prime Minister coming? Well, I will cease.
Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to welcome tonight in Marabella the political leader of the People's National Movement and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome your leader, a man of integrity. Welcome Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley as he joins us on stage. Put your hands together as our political leader and Prime Minister joins us at this meeting in Marabella.
All right, let's start all over again. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, political leader of the People's National Movement and Prime Minister, my cabinet colleagues, the Mayor of San Fernando, members of the leadership of the People's National Movement, members of Parliament, local government representatives, members of the head table, members of the party, members of the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency, other PNM supporters, chairmen of local government corporations, well-wishers, the media, San Fernando East, and San Fernando West. It's all right, Faris, I saw you when you came in. My job here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is to give you the perspective from the Ministry of Finance with respect to the information that we have at the Ministry of Finance with regard to Petrotrin's financial situation, its profitability or lack thereof, its performance in terms of finances over the last several years. And the reason why I have come here to do that is that there's quite a bit of inaccurate information in the public domain with respect to Petrotrin. But before I get into the numbers, let me just say that this difficult issue will be resolved by our dedicated team working side by side with all concerned. You see, we in the Ministry of Finance, we know that we have to step in and we have to provide the financial support to get us through this situation. And we will. But let me just tell you what the reality is with respect to Petrotrin. I have with me the financial statements that are available on Petrotrin's website. So these are not secret documents. If you go on Petrotrin's website, you will see its consolidated financial statements for many past years, as recently as 2017. And I have brought these financial statements with me. And I've done an extraction, a summary of the performance of Petrotrin as a whole company, because we have to understand Petrotrin is what is called an integrated company. So it has two arms. It has a refining and marketing arm, and it has an exploration and production arm. So what I have brought with me are the financial statements for Petrotrin as a whole, combined statements for exploration and production and refining and marketing. And let me tell you, going back to the year 2009, what these financial statements tell you. They tell you that as far back as 2009, Petrotrin lost $885 million. It then went through a small period of profitability where, for example, in 2014, it made a profit of $150 million. In 2013, it made a profit of $21 million. But as we go now to 2015, the financial statements tell us that Petrotrin lost $1.04 billion in 2015, and the real loss took place in 2016, where Petrotrin lost $5 billion. Let me repeat that. In the year 2016, Petrotrin lost $5 billion. In the year 2017, Petrotrin posted a loss of $2.2 billion. But that $5 billion loss in 2016 is a signal to something that has been happening in that company all the time. Today, I asked the persons in charge of accounting at Petrotrin to give me the figures for the refinery. Because what has been happening all these years, because they have been mixing the financial performance of the exploration and production side, the Trinmar side, production of oil, the land crude, because they've been mixing the financial performance of that piece of Petrotrin with the refinery, it has been masking the real situation at Petrotrin. So I asked the accounting department to give me the figures for the refinery alone. And let me just give you some idea of what has been happening in that refinery. And I will go back to the year 2012. In 2012, the financial statements tell us that the refinery lost $722 million. In 2013, the refinery lost $2.3 billion. In 2014, the refinery lost $2.6 billion. In 2015, the refinery lost $2.7 billion. And as you come to PNM, even though we have tried our best to reduce expenditure and to be as efficient as possible in the refinery lost $1.3 billion in 2016 and $1.7 billion in 2017. But let's go back now to the statements of the company as a whole when you mix oil production finances with refinery finances. And let's go back to that year, 2016, where the company lost $5 billion. And you ask yourself, how is this possible? I'll tell you how. You see all these losses I have just spelled out for you? $722 million in 2012, $2.3 billion in 2013, $2.6 billion in 2014, $2.7 billion in 2015, $1.3 billion in 2016, and so on. Guess what was happening? Those huge losses in the refinery were being masked by the overall company. And the profitability of exploration and production was being lost in the loss-making side of the refinery. What the former administration was doing, they were hiding these losses. They did some very creative accounting, and they took these losses, these billions of losses that I have called out for you. If you do simple calculations, you will cross $10 billion in losses over the 2012 to 2017 period. More than $10 billion in losses. You know what they were doing? They were not recording these losses in the books as a loss. They were recording it, believe it or not, as an advanced tax credit. So what they were doing, they were hiding the fact that the refinery was losing billions of dollars. They were parking the losses in a corner. And what they said is that when the refinery begins to make profit, they will take those accumulated losses and they will use them to write off against the profit in future years. But you can't do that in accounting. You could only do that for 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years if you're lucky. So under the UNC, the company's auditors was not recording, they were not recording these huge losses. As soon as PNM come in, the auditors came to us and told us we're going to have to post these losses. As accountants, we can no longer give a unqualified, clean bill of health to Petrotrin's accounts. As a government, as the Ministry of Finance, we were shocked. Where did all these losses come from? How come they are not appearing in Petrotrin's published accounts? But the accountants told us we have to post it, otherwise we cannot audit this company. And you know what happened? All the losses were put into financial year 2016, which is why the company suddenly posted a loss in 2016 of $5 billion. That was all the losses that the former administration had been hiding since 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. So the true picture of the refinery is that between 2012 and 2017, the refinery lost over $10 billion. In fact, if I do a quick calculation here, I don't have the arithmetical ability of the party chairman, but I could do some maths. If I do a little addition here, I get $11 billion in losses in the refinery over the 2012 to 2017 period. Now, all of the people in the company knew this, you know. All the managers knew this. They all knew that the refinery was losing more than $2 billion a year. They knew that any profits made in the exploration and production side of the company were being sucked in and lost in the refinery. Because what you need to understand is that it is the oil production side of Petrotrin that has been meeting the expenses of the workers, their salaries, their pension arrangements, their health plan, and all of the benefits. It is the exploration and production side, the exploration side, that has been contributing to the welfare of the workers of Petrotrin all of these years. The refinery has been contributing nothing except losses in the order of $2.7 billion. Now, we in the government looked at this for a very long time. A very long time. Because, of course, when you look at this kind of thing, and when you speak to the auditors, because we in finance, we interrogated the auditors. We brought in experts. We didn't advise ourselves. We brought in external auditors to interrogate the company's accountants and the company's auditors to find out what is really going on here. And they said they have to declare the losses that were being not declared before, because they have done their analysis over the last several years, and the refinery will never make a profit. Never. That's what they told us. The refinery will never make a profit. And you can only carry forward losses as tax credits if in the future there is the possibility that the entity will make a profit and you write off the losses against that. So that is what we were faced with. Chartered accountants telling us that the refinery will never make a profit, and it's time to post this $11 billion in losses. But if you look at the published accounts of Petrotrin, if you go on the website, you will see that the accounts have been restated and restated in the year of 2016, and that's where the $5 billion loss comes in. But if you take a good look at the accounts, you will see while the refinery was losing $2.2 billion in 2013, the company was declaring a profit of $21 million. I want you all to understand what's going on there. The refinery lost $2.3 billion in 2013, but the company declared a profit of $21 million. You know what that meant? It meant that the oil production side made a profit of $2.3 billion. So the profit of the oil production side was able to cater for the loss on the refinery side. Let's look at 2014, where the loss in the refinery was $2.6 billion. Again, the company declared a profit of $150 million. So you know what that means? The oil production side of Petrotrin made a profit of $2.6 billion in the year 2014, and all of it got sucked into the loss-making refinery and was lost. Every year you look at it, you get the same picture. If you look at 2015, the refinery lost $2.7 billion, but the company only posted a loss of $1 billion. That means the oil production side made a profit of $1.7 billion, which was then lost in the refinery. So the reason why I'm emphasizing these facts is because you need to understand what is going on. The 40,000 barrels of oil that Petrotrin produces is where Petrotrin gets its revenue from. That's where it gets its profit from. That's where it gets its income from. It is that money is substantial. If you take oil at $60 a barrel, US, and you multiply it by 40,000 barrels a day, and you convert to TT dollars, and you do it for the whole year, the actual income from that 40,000 barrels is 6 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. 6 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. And Petrotrin's overall expense is somewhere between $4 and $5 billion. So even if Petrotrin's expenses continued as is, the company will immediately make a profit of in excess of $1 billion just by selling the oil that it produces. So understand what is going on. It is a fallacy that the refinery has been contributing towards the income of Petrotrin and paying the workers' salaries and paying their health plan and paying their pension plan. That is a fallacy. The refinery has been sucking money out of Petrotrin for years. So I thought it was necessary to tell people this. And I now want to move on and explain why the persons involved, retirees, people on the health plan and so on, why you should have comfort, and why the lenders who have lent money to Petrotrin and these loans become due next year, why they should have comfort. Because from the time the refinery is closed, Petrotrin immediately becomes a profitable company. And all of the profit it makes will be used to continue to secure the workers' pensions, to secure their health benefits, to pay their salaries, to take care of the workers. So Petrotrin will be in a far better place once the loss-making refinery is no longer there. So I thought I should come here and clear that up, because there's a lot of talk outside there that when the refinery closes down, where will Petrotrin get money to pay workers' salaries? Where will Petrotrin get money to pay pensions? The fact is that all of those things were being paid for by the oil production side of Petrotrin. None of it was being paid by the refinery side. Let me also give you some information that we at the Ministry of Finance have. It's important that you hear this, because I'm speaking from, not from my perspective, but from what the public servants tell me. And let me tell you what they tell me. Every month or two, we get a spreadsheet from Petrotrin. And on that spreadsheet, it tells us how much money they owe to various state entities in Trinidad and Tobago. And I have the aged payables analysis of Petrotrin as at the 30th of June 2018 in my hand. And I can tell you today that Petrotrin owes the Board of Inland Revenue up to June, we know in September, up to June, $2.6 billion in taxes. $2.6 billion. And Petrotrin also owes the Ministry of Energy for royalties $1.4 billion. So when you add the royalties that Petrotrin is not paying, and you add the taxes that they are not paying, Petrotrin owes the state $4 billion. $4 billion. And one of the ways persons have tried to avoid dealing with that fact that Petrotrin should have paid the Treasury $4 billion and has not, is that they say, oh, they are owed money for the fuel subsidy. Well, the fuel subsidy is less than $1 billion. I just want to put that on the table here tonight. The fuel subsidy is less than $1 billion. So if you deduct that from the money owed by Petrotrin, Petrotrin still owes the Treasury $3 billion. And let me explain what the problem is. As Minister of Finance, I've been sitting down with my team at the ministry over the last month, looking at the performance of the economy for this fiscal year, which comes to an end at the end of this September, looking at revenue collection, looking at what we get from customs duty, value-added tax, individual personal income tax, corporation tax, supplementary petroleum tax, petroleum profits tax, royalties. And up to today, I had a meeting at 3 o'clock in the ministry, and we have observed a big hole in revenue collection in terms of oil companies. And when we do the analysis for this fiscal year, we are missing $900 million from Petrotrin. And that's part of the budget, because royalties is a law. Supplementary petroleum tax is a law. Every barrel of oil that is produced, there's a royalty of 12.5% of the value. Every time the price of oil goes over $50, which it has for a very long time now, there's a supplementary petroleum tax that kicks in at various rates, 18%, 20%, and so on. By law, every oil company in Trinidad and Tobago is supposed to make these payments, including Petrotrin. BP makes the payments, Shell makes the payments, EOG makes the payments, Perenco makes the payments, BHP makes the payments. We have not received a cent from Petrotrin for this fiscal year, causing a shortfall in revenue collection for fiscal 2018 of $900 million. Now that $900 million is for school feeding. It's for school transportation. It's for medicine in the hospitals. It's for senior citizens' pension. That's what that $900 million was budgeted for. It's allocated throughout the ministries. But we didn't get it. So we've had to adjust and scrimp and scrape and so on and see how we can make do without that $900 million. And this has been going on for a long time. I told you the company owes the Treasury $4 billion. So you could see how long this has been going on for and the amount of pressure it is putting on us at the Ministry of Finance to provide essential services to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So I thought I would come here tonight Oh yes, the Prime Minister has just reminded me of something. Not only is Petrotrin not paying its royalties and its taxes, and we out almost $1 billion for the year because of that, but we have to guarantee, give a government guarantee to Petrotrin when it goes out to borrow, because the financial market, the banks are no longer willing to finance Petrotrin in its current position to buy oil. Remember, in its current configuration, Petrotrin buys 100,000 barrels of oil every single day. And at current oil prices, just imagine how much that is, 100,000 barrels by $60. Do the maths. $6 million a day is what Petrotrin is required to purchase to run the refinery. And we in the Treasury, we in the government, you the people, we have had to guarantee loans for Petrotrin to get that money, to put it through the refinery, and then lose $3 to $4 US on every single barrel that goes through the refinery. $3 to $4 US is lost on every single barrel. Oil in, gasoline out, X dollars in, X minus dollars out. That is what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. So I thought I would bring these facts to you because there's too much misinformation outside there. And I want to tell you, no matter how hard it is, we in the Ministry of Finance will find whatever funding is required, whatever financing is required to work with the workers of Petrotrin to make this transition as easy as possible. We will do whatever we can. If we have to borrow money, if we have to go in some cupboard and find money, we will. I want to give you that assurance tonight. We are with you. We are with you. And whatever it takes, we will do it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.